All right, I'm excited to have you here tuned in because today I'm going to be doing something really kind of cool. At least in my opinion, it's cool. I'm going to be sharing some thought leaders that have been on Growth Amplifier, the Growth Amplifier podcast. Growth Amplifier, that's not even a thing. The Growth Amplifier podcast is a thing. We are Growth Amplifiers dedicated to amplify your business. So thank you for tuning in. I've had some awesome thought leaders over the past couple years. Last week was at Podfest 2022. And it was really cool because it's been 2 years since we kind of kicked off this podcast and right before the pandemic. And we've done a lot of great things, had some amazing guests on the podcast, and we're going to be giving some highlights in this session. Joe Woodard, um, and Kelly Bagla, and David Allen of Get Things Done. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want you to tune in. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go to our YouTube channel. This is something that we're actively pushing on growing. You can search Growth Amplifiers. Just search for Growth Amplifiers on YouTube. You'll find our channel and follow, like, and subscribe anything that we're putting out there. That'd be great. We are dedicated to putting out the best tips, tools, and strategy for growing your business by elevating the value and experience that you provide. And we're trying to give actionable insights at each session that we do. So, thought that would be helpful. You can go to growthamplifiers.com/connect. You can see all our different podcast feeds, channels, and of course, our YouTube channel. So, speaking of things that we're doing, one of the cool things we're doing are some interactive events. And you can actually check out an upcoming event we have. It's a YouTube action workshop for business growth. In the past couple of years, we've been building our podcast channel, building an audience, and now we're doubling down on YouTube and we're sharing some of the best strategies that we've gained as certified digital marketer trainers and advisors. The challenge that we see is a lot of people know that, oh man, there's a lot of people killing it on YouTube, really growing their influence and their audience and their business. They're doing all three of these things. But people get overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. They start making progress. They fizzle out. And so we're going to share what has worked for us to make it simple, easy, and actionable. And we'll share what has actually helped generate business. Because if you're spending a lot of time doing something and it's not producing a result, then it's really not helping get the best possible outcome of your time or energy. So this is all about building a library where you can create things once, leverage it many times, whether that's to attract new prospective clients or to educate your existing clients or to build your audience and community. We're sharing some of the best strategies that we've used ourselves, picked up from the digital marketer community, including Traffic and Conversion Conference, and some things we picked up from Podfest just recently. So this is something that it's a free event, and we're just doing this to share and provide value to our growth amplifiers. So definitely check that out. Now, this past weekend, these are my two little boys, by the way. This past weekend, I actually did something that I'd been meaning to do for a while. See, if you haven't been tuned into growth amplifiers, you may have missed. I've been tuning into these books about habit, and the one I've been reading recently is Tiny Habits. It's all about just doing small things with consistent persistence to cultivate transformation. And one of the small things I've been meaning to do for a while, but had not done, was resort my bookshelf. So I had my books all out on the floor. Me and my kids were going through this together, and we were sharing in some of the books that we've read together, just talking about that. But then we were organizing these in alphabetical order. So this was fun and interactive. And it helped me remember some of the cool guests that I've had on my show that sometimes their book can get buried in my bookshelf. And so I just said, oh, I'm going to do a little highlight session in some of these authors that have been on Growth Amplifiers, sharing some of their highlights. So I'm going to bring up our first guest. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. We're looking to put out some great events, workshops, meet and greets, focus groups, all these wonderful things, connecting other amplifiers with the attitude, expertise, and drive who want to develop the disciplines to execute, who want to grow the habits to live their best lives. If that's you, we'd love to have you connect and be part of the Growth Amplifiers community. So Joe Woodard, he is the lead, CEO, president of the Woodard Institute, and his event has been highlighted by many different guests of the Growth Amplifier podcast over the past several months. We've had different business advisors from the financial background, including accountants, CPAs, and bookkeepers who are helping businesses grow. We've been having them on our show sharing what they've learned on their journey that might be helpful for other people looking to amplify their business. And we've been asking them, what are some of the events that you highly recommend going to? And Scaling New Heights has actually been the number one event that people have been mentioning. Speaking of which, it's coming around the corner. It's actually coming up in a couple weeks down in Orlando, Florida. If you're watching this on replay, it's going to be around, it goes in different locations each year. And it is an awesome event. I've been to the event. We're going to be sponsoring the event, and I'm going to be speaking at the event. And it gets bookkeepers, accountants, business advisors together, sharing inspiration, ideas for growth, ideas on how they could better serve their clients. And I participated as a business advisor from a different background, from the marketing background, and I found it really helpful. Recently, Joe was on our show, and he shared some actionable insights. And I brought this up because as I'm looking at my bookshelf, I probably read a good 2/3 of my bookshelf. There's a third that I still have not read. I was getting like a couple books a week from podcast guests, and it kind of jammed me up a little bit. And then I just got a few more from Podfest. But I do read the books that I have, and I probably read a lot more than the ones that are on my bookshelf. And one of the ways that I've done that is by having an Audible account as well. So Joe was on the show recently, and he shared how he fuels his continual growth. So let me pass the mic to Joe, and we'll get this takeaway that what he shared is helpful for him to fuel his spirit. So let me go ahead and share this. To Joe, this is a great question. Wrong screen. This is a great question for you. How do you fuel yourself to continue to improve and elevate? You're constantly always growing and updating. And how do you do this for yourself? And then what would you recommend for others?
Okay, so there are several different ways, but I'm going to start with the one that's that I deploy the most often. I try to do it on a daily basis, and it has one of the greatest impacts, and that is to read. If you are, I know it sounds very simplistic, right? But you ask the question, and sometimes it's a simple answer. I prioritize the assimilation of knowledge and ideas through reading. And the key is, because if it had to be, a Kindle book where I had to pull out a device and I had to set the time aside and I had to actually focus on the reading of the words, then I would not read nearly as much. But I use Audible very heavily. And my biggest advice I could give to your audience is go get an Audible subscription and use up your credits, pay a la carte above that. Don't hesitate to grab those Audible books and to use them. And then find creative ways to assimilate the information from Audible. All of us have a commute these days. Some of us, like me, we're all virtual now. We work from home. So I have less of that car time to assimilate Audible. But I will use my noise canceling headsets in crazy environments, not just flights and not just at the airport, but even when I'm watching my daughter's volleyball matches. I can be 100% tuned into her and enjoying what I'm seeing with her play while I'm assimilating the knowledge, because it's two completely different elements of mental thinking and processing.
Which I completely agree. This is something that I've been doing. I probably listen to at least maybe 2 books, if not 3 per month, and I'll read like 1 or 2 as well. What works for me is doing the books while I'm washing dishes or maybe doing laundry. I was doing it by working out, but my physical therapist, Dr. Megan Brown, told me perhaps I should focus on the workout and really get a good workout in. So that is something that I've been doing. But we're looking for more guests who are published authors to be on Growth Amplifiers. So if you have a book that you think is transformative to help people develop the right mindset, develop the right actions, develop the right habits to amplify their business, love to see it in the comments and share, because we're going to be looking for those guests. Now, we realize some people may have passed away. There's some great books. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. We did a focus group on Growth Amplifiers a year ago and had different thought leaders kind of sharing their actionable insights from that book. He's not with us anymore, but it was a great book to highlight. So we are looking for those books. So if you have a suggestion, definitely put it in. And I'm going to move on to our next topic. So this is Joe. This is Kelly Bagla. Now I have Kelly's book, and she is an attorney. And her book is Go Legal Yourself. So like, go legal yourself. And I think her style is really, really cool. You could see on the cover of the magazine, the book, she's got, this stylish dress, kind of gets some attention, and a nice bold color. And it's really a book, a guide for, the entrepreneurs or business owners that need to learn what they don't know about the law that could be holding them back. And so she was on the Growth Amplifiers podcast, and she shared some insights. And interestingly enough, this is being recorded, this is in my office, my home office, but the session with Kelly was recorded in a hotel. Virtually, we're not in the same hotel. Oh my gosh, it's getting bad. Virtually, we're in different hotels, but it was right before the pandemic. And right around the time I was attending PodFest 2020. So it's just funny how everything comes around. And you must notice that this is the best possible shot this could have paused me at. That's my thinking face. So this is some takeaways from Kelly, from the author of Go Legal Yourself.
Kenny was always wrong. There's multitude of different types of businesses you can set up, right? But they didn't know any better. Why? Because their neighbor did it, or their neighbor's girlfriend's brother's uncle, someone that they knew did it that way, right? So I made it my mission about 3 years ago. That's when I founded golegalyourself.com. It's an online service for entrepreneurs that want to start and grow their business the right way. And they're fixed legal packages. So this way they know, okay, it's attorney drafted. These are the same packages I use with my clients. It's attorney drafted, and it's proven by other clients too. So if they want to start a business, I'm taking the guesswork out of it. I'm taking the scariness out of it, because it's never fun when you're talking to an attorney, right? We can be intimidating, I know.
Well, I think that's one of the things right there is, you want to be effective. You don't want to bother someone's time, feel like I'm spending a lot of money and I don't even know the questions to ask. I don't know what I need to do. And maybe I've just spent a few hundred or a few $1,000s, and I kind of didn't have a good plan. So I kind of wasted both of our times. So being able to kind of get some initial information, kind of set yourself up, get the knowledge in a pathway so that you can make some informed decisions, and not reinventing the wheel seems really, really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
So that advice not only is great for Kelly, because she did a great job of taking her knowledge and information. What are the core things that your average business owner might need to have and do? What would they need to do? And then packaging that into a product. Most service-based business owners can do this. Packaging it into a product and say, all right, these are the basics that you'll probably need. And rather than having you come and try to check off what you need and do everything custom, here's the product. It's going to give you the basics. And here's a pathway of how you can ascend and grow through time. So this is Kelly's book. She highlights her thoughts in the book and shares a lot of practical information so people can be self-aware. And I realized while I was going back and forth doing this video stuff there, I've got a few comments, so I'll just say hello. Oops, that's Manny saying hello to Atiba, and here he is saying hello back. So hello, thank you for tuning in. I'm not going to go through all these. I probably need some assistance with this part. But I do see Tanya saying that she had a hard time doing what Joe suggests, having an Audible account, but can only really use it while driving, focused on anything else. I don't hear the book. So I even find it helpful just to unplug for a little bit. So unplug. Sometimes at the end of the day, my intention to read is there, but I'm tired and I don't feel like I have the energy to read and to take in the information. So sometimes rather than that, I'll listen and just relax and just be focused in the moment to take in some new information and change perspective. For the books I really like and really think are helpful, I'll get both the audio and the physical, and I'll listen while I'm reading along. And I'll do it like at 3 times the speed. So I'm zooming through it, but because I'm reading it and hearing it, I'll stay focused. I'll plow through the information and I'll retain it, which is really kind of impressive. It's surprising how much you can retain when you're listening to content that's going really fast. But I didn't start off at 3 times the speed. So I'm going to move on to our final guest, which I think he is a great rock star professional. And if you haven't read his book, Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, that's a great book. He gives you a system, a framework for really taking all the things that you need to get done and getting rid of the clutter so that you can be more focused and more productive. And I listened to his book, had him on the podcast. He shared some great tips. Without further ado, let's hear from David Allen.
Basically, your head is a crappy office.
And
most people are still trying to use their head to remember, remind, prioritize, manage relationships between all of this input and all of these commitments that they have. You cannot do that in your head. It did not evolve to do that very well. I mean, it evolved to do cool things, but you still go to the store for lemons. You come back with 6 things and no lemons. You know, your head just screwed up because you tried to use it internally to try to manage all that. So a basic premise of my methodology was discovering the fact that you need to externalize all of that stuff. You need to see all the inputs, and you also need to externalize all of your own commitments at these multiple levels, and then be able to step back from a larger perspective and see that whole game and locate yourself in space and time relative to all that stuff. So it's about identifying the things, capturing. So there's a 5-step process, which is I just identified, which we all do. You know, if you're trying to get your kitchen under control, you need to identify what's off. What do they mean? What's that? What does that mean? Where does that go? You know, when are my guests coming over and what do I need to do? It's a 5-step process: capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. But the capture process would mean if you wanted to do that about your life, I need to get my life under control and appropriately focused and confidently moving appropriately. I need to identify all the stuff that's got my attention. You need to capture that. That's not a small process, folks. How many things, how many would, could, should, need tos, ought to, little things, big things. I need cat food. I need a new vice president of marketing. I need to figure out if we should adopt or not.
right? It's a lot of stuff. And it's kind of like, you know, getting it out of your mind. If you're trying to just retain all that information, it's just too much. Your brain will just trying to run too many computer programs all at the same time. You may have a good idea, but writing it down and then sorting it out is a great process. And you may say, oh, yeah, that's kind of basic. I kind of understand that. And there's a difference between knowing and doing and actually being a master at something, right? And so just consider that when you're doing these things, you really want to focus on not, oh, I know this already, but how can I improve? What are the small little changes that I could take that would make me a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective, and then focus on making those small changes. Again, going full circle to the book that I'm currently just finished today, Tiny Habits. So you may be seeing that I've been focusing on Atomic Habits, which is another habit book. And one of my guests, Bill Camaraderie from Positive Intelligence, shared Tiny Habits. Very similar material, but there's small little adjustments, small little different perspectives, small little nuances that come from the second book that I've already found beneficial. And so that's my thought. That's the whole thought behind growth amplifiers. It's what are the little amplifiers that we could put into action that will help us be more efficient, more effective, and better serve our mission. That's what it's all about. So I'm glad you were able to tune in. And again, if you have a book or an author that you thought was
basically,
thank you, David. If you had a book or an author that you thought was really helpful or provided an impact for you, definitely share them with us. Let us know. Connect with us on our YouTube channel. You can go to growthamplifiers.com/connect and see all of our different channels that we have, from our podcast to our YouTube. Connect with us, engage with us. We're building a community of like-minded amplifiers in the world that want to get better, that want to play every ace and become their best self. And this is what we're aiming to do, is facilitate that community so we can come together and everyone can rise and be better together. So Tanya, thank you for tuning in. Tanya, who's been an awesome amplifier herself. She rocks and she rolls. I think I'm going to say that. Yes, she rocks and rolls. And she says she's a visual learner, a fast reader, though, so reading is typically better for me. I am a bit more visual, and that's why for important books that I'm trying to really retain, I'll get the actual physical copy. And I find kind of doing both helps me keep focused. Sometimes if I'm just a little bit overwhelmed or have been using some energy, if I'm reading a book, sometimes it starts putting me to sleep. But if I'm following along with the audio, it's kind of like a read-along book. It's a fun little thing. And yes, many of Mike McCallow's books helped Tanya. I'm a big fan of Mike as well. You can see some of his books. You can see the Fix This Next is on my list. I've got Clockwork, Profit First, and really about those frameworks for making the subtle improvements. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Again, we're looking to get the message out there. So if you know someone who might be a great guest for Growth Amplifiers, what is this black screen on here for? I'm going to move that. Somehow it removed myself and just went to a black screen. What am I doing? But if you have the attitude, expertise, and drive and are looking to amplify, definitely connect, reach out. We're going to be doing some upcoming events. We have the YouTube event that we're going to be doing, and if you can attend live, it's a free event. And if you cannot, we do have our online Growth Amplifier University, and we also have a quarterly strategic planning session coming up. So stepping back, getting out of your business, being guided through a quarterly planning workshop so that you can put focus and attention on the actions that will give you the biggest impact. And we're implementing some of the strategies we were picking up from the habits and systems so that you can be a more effective leader, not only for yourself, but for those you serve and for the greater good. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you and what you do. Keep on amplifying.